Hello everyone, welcome to Bonnie Carolee Makes Cards. My card today features a beautiful new image by Syberia Design. This month's release is a celebration of spring, and I'll show you a couple of other cards that I've made at the end of this video. So let's get started with the image called Springtime. I began by printing this digital image on Fabriano watercolor paper. This high quality 100% cotton paper has a very fine and beautiful texture to it. This paper is more expensive, so I don't use it often. I've had a number of questions about the printer that I use, so I thought I would talk a little bit about that. For my digital images, I'm using a Workforce 100 printer. It is a compact mobile printer and a single feed. I can print using 80-pound classic crest paper, Bristol Smooth, and the heavier watercolor papers. For the heavier papers, I sometimes need to run my thumbnail just along the edge so that the machine will grab it. Another important feature of this machine is that the ink is pigment and so it is water resistant, perfect for watercoloring. For this card, I'm working with Karin Markers. There are some differences working with the Karin Markers as compared to other water brush pens like the Zigs and Artisas. In my opinion, other watercolor brushes tend to work very well on Bristol Smooth cardstock, but not so much on watercolor paper. The Karin Markers work well both on the Bristol Smooth cardstock and watercolor paper, and I think that the color is much more vibrant. For this image, I'm working with 4 colors. Pale orange is used for some of the flowers and gold for the rest. The coloring is very simple, quick, and easy. I put the color at the base of the petal and then pull it up with my water brush pen. The stems are colored with olive green. I color it in and then use my water brush to smooth out the color. A fresh spring green called Apple is used for the leaves. The leaves are painted much like the flower petals, with the color being placed along the base and then pulled up to create a gradient with the water brush pen. A 5th color, a clear blue called Cool Aqua, is introduced for the background. The color is applied to the glass crafting mat. I first wet a small area of the background with my water brush pen. The blue is picked up and applied along the image's edge and pulled out to create a gradient. Splatter is applied to the panel inside a splatter box using Winsor & Newton's watered down white gouache. I know that I have mentioned this before. The white gouache is my favorite medium for splatter. It is opaque, the color underneath does not bleed through, and it is slightly dimensional, leaving a pretty texture. For the sentiment, I'm using one of the dies from Simon Says Stamps 4 Seasons. I die cut it 3 times from Neenah Classic Crest 110 pound cardstock and once from Simon Says Stamps Sea Glass cardstock. The underside of all 4 die cuts are covered with Tombow glue and left to dry completely. When dried, Tombow glue leaves a tacky surface. This makes the die cuts repositionable and perfect for stacking them. A small circle of vellum is die cut. It is small enough to allow the sentiment to slightly overhang it. The die cuts are stacked together in pairs, making sure that one of the pairs has the blue die cut on top. The pair of stacked sentiments with the blue die cut is placed on top of the vellum circle. The top of the second pair of sentiments is covered with Tombow glue and set aside to dry. The panel is adhered to white sheet foam. Something heavy is placed on top so that there's good contact between the paper and the foam. When it is dry completely, then it is trimmed down. The second pair of sentiments is lined up with the top pair on the other side of the vellum. The overhang of the sentiment makes this easy to do. After the foam is trimmed off from the panel, it is attached to an A2 size card base of Neenah Classic Crest 110 pound cardstock. The base sentiment has Tombow glue on it already and is tacky, so it just needs to be positioned on the card. Using the vellum circle helps to highlight the sentiment without detracting from the pretty floral image. Clear iridescent confetti are placed close to the image to help draw the attention to the center of the card rather than the background. The confetti are adhered to the card using my favorite adhesive for embellishments, Nouveau Precision Glue. When it is depressed on the paper, it leaves a small droplet of glue perfect for adhering anything small. All of the confetti are topped up with Nouveau Crystal Drops Morning Dew. Morning Dew dries clear, and it leaves a beautiful jewel-like appearance to the confetti. I wanted to enhance the splatter effect by introducing Nouveau White Crystal Drops. I wanted the droplets to be quite small, so I first practiced on paper. Keeping a steady pressure on the bottle, I literally just dotted it all around the image and in some of the interior areas as well. I finished up with a handful of larger droplets. There was a little bit of color bleed through on some of the droplets, but the overall effect was a nice textural appearance. And that wraps up this card featuring Alex Syberia Designs Springtime. Visit Alex Syberia Design to see the full March release. You won't be disappointed. Here are 2 more cards using the digital images Fabulous Floral Slimline and Peony background. Details can be found on my blog at bonniecarolee.com. As always, I appreciate your visit.